Hey guys, and welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish review. And today I'm going to be taking a look at quite an unusual Doctor Who audio drama, and this is a Sylvester McCoy story, which is Night Thoughts. Now, I think I got this a couple of years ago, or last year. Can't remember when exactly I got it, but I've only listened to it twice. First time was when I actually got it, and then the second time was a couple of days ago. So I thought I'd give it a listen and talk about it. And let's start the review off by taking a look at the cover art. And as you can see, it's very different from what you usually see in Big Finish covers. Because for one thing, you've got a rabbit, an eyeless rabbit, and a very purpley, sort of stylized woodland. Obviously, it's no woodland is purple, but I think it looks very nice. Very different, like I said. It says Sylvester McCoy in Doctor Who, Night Thoughts, along with Sophie Aldred as Ace and Philip Olivier as Hex, who is a Big Finish companion. But I'll talk about him more later. And it's the 79th release, and you've got the spine, Doctor Who Night Thoughts, and you've got this really nice purple backing card, like the artwork, with the picture of the front cover. I'll give you a chance to read that if you can. Hopefully the camera's good enough to pick up the blurb, because I'll talk about that in the review. And then if we open it up, we have the standard booklet, and it's a 2-disc set. You've got disc 1, and then you've also got disc 2 there. I want to try and open it in case it breaks, because they tend to, these older releases. Before I say, you can still buy this. I think it's only the releases from 1 to 50 that are out of print, so you can't buy those. But you can still buy this one, and I think it's about 15 quid on Amazon, depending on where you get it. You could probably buy it fairly cheaply off eBay as well. And what are my thoughts on Night Thoughts? Now, the reason why I picked this up was because I'm quite a fan of scary stories, and Doctor Who is not exactly scary anymore, so I wanted to experience some real proper dark Doctor Who, and this certainly was a very dark story, and I think it has similarities to Ghostlight, but not in terms of story, but the way in the way it's sort of constructed. It's a 4-part story, but obviously Ghostlight was 3 parts. But what I mean by how similar, like the similarities are, is that it can get quite complicated, and I think sometimes I know a lot of other people have said this as well, but in the reviews on Amazon and stuff, they have said that the story can get a bit too clever for its own good. Now, this story was written by Edward Young, and I've only listened to this. I don't know if he's written any other stuff, I'll have to check it out. But I'm sure somebody will probably comment it in the section below. But so there's a lot of subplots, and it's one of those stories you have to be in the mood to listen to it, because if not, then it probably just goes straight over your head. Like, you really have to sort of concentrate. I did find it hard to keep up with the story, but other than that, I thought it was a entertaining piece of drama, and I thought it was really atmospheric. And as for the rabbits, it's called Happy for some reason. I think it's meant to be ironic, because the whole setting is very depressing and bleak. Happy the rabbit is this little doll in which one of the characters, called Sue, she's quite an important part of the story. She uses the rabbit as a way of communicating to other people, sort of like ventriloquist, a bit like Mr. Sin from The Talent of Weng Chiang, kind of like that. But Sue is very young, so it's a bit different from Talons, but it's still a great story. The Talons in this story are completely different. The only similarity is that there's sort of like a ventriloquist sort of doll. But yes, episode 1 is quite slow, and I think it starts to pick up towards the end of the story, sort of halfway through. I wouldn't say it was a massive problem, but obviously I would agree that episode 1 does drag a little bit, but not much. But I think as for the performances, I think they're great. I think Sylvester McCoy is brilliant as ever. He's one of my favourite Doctors, my second favourite to be precise. And as for Sophie Aldred, she's great. She doesn't get to do that much in this. She's sort of sidelined a little bit, but she does get to interact with Sue, which is quite nice. And Philippe Olivier as Hex, I think he's a great companion. I haven't listened to him that much because I don't have that many Big Finish audios, but from the ones that I've listened to him, like I'm trying to think of another one, Gods and Monsters, I really enjoyed him in that. I think he's a lot different from a lot of other Doctor Who companions, mainly because of the fact that he is from Liverpool, I think. I don't know what his first story is, because I'm going to have to read up on this companion, because I don't know much about him, but from what I've experienced, I really like this TARDIS team. I really like the 7th Doctor, Ace and Hex, and it's nice to see Big Finish coming up with their own spin-off Doctors and original companions like Lucy Miller and Molly O'Sullivan, etc. Really nice to see that. And I think the overall story, if you really like scary stories, then this one is definitely for you, especially if you're a fan of dark Doctor Who stories. But there's if you know your 7th Doctor, you'll know that he's really quite manipulative. But it gets to a certain point in the story where I think he is manipulated by the Major, who's a sort of character. Basically, it's in this sort of Scottish mansion, and it's very old and creepy, and there's like 5 academic people there, and the reason that they're all there is very sinister, and once you realise what they're doing there and why they're there, it's really quite disturbing, and it sort of it shakens me a little bit, actually. So I think for my overall rating, I'd probably give this story a 7 out of 10. It's nothing special. It's quite different from what I've heard. Well, from what I've heard of other Big Finish stories. But like I said, if you're a fan of dark, bleak, atmospheric stories, then I give this one a try. It's not bad by any means. It's got some good ideas, but like I said, you have to be in the mood for it, and you also have to try and pay attention to it as well, because it'll probably just go right over your head. So yeah, that pretty much concludes it for this review. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon.